Hey, everybody, welcome to Campus to Contracts. We're going to talk about the transfer portal. Why is this craziness going on and how to make sense of it? As always, Mason is here to help me digest whatever the heck this is. Mason, dive right in, please.
Yeah, so, we've talked about the transfer portal before. It's basically a tool that players in college, basically talking about college football players, use to transfer from one university to the next. Many reasons, many different types of scenarios, and a lot of it is money based, some of it is playing time based, but now you can see that there are starters at their previous universities that for one reason or another enter the transfer portal to go to another university. You used to see when it first came out that guys that weren't playing as much or didn't like their playing time or their circumstance or situations at their first university got into the transfer portal and went to a different school for something better. But now you have guys that for pretty much from the eye of the fan, there's no actual legit reason for them to leave the university. They're jumping into the transfer portal and they're cashing in big. So financially.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. My recollection of the transfer portal was it was finally an opportunity for players to leave if a coaching staff changed, to leave if they weren't getting playing time like they were promised. So these players had that opportunity. But to your point, you're seeing some of the best players on the team transferring out. And you're saying it's all about, it has nothing to do with obviously playing time, coaches, things of that nature. What is the major driving factor of even putting your name in the transfer portal to begin with?
Well, just like in the NFL, it comes down to markets. It comes down to how much your value is, how much you're worth on that football field. There's a lot of players that are specifically transferring to try to up their NIL valuation or the money that they're getting through these NIL collectives, these on-campus basically funding machines that are paying their players in order to get on the team and the team hopefully be successful. Obviously, you're not going to hear any words like pay to play. That's not what this is really about. But if you could read between the lines, then you'll understand that these universities are hiring these general managers to make sure that the funds at those NIL collectives are stocked up and ready to go whenever it comes down to any distribution that those schools need in order to get some better players on that football field.
And the other thing that's a bit odd that I was thinking about, and I think you can dive into this too, players that get in the transfer portal, but then go right back to the team they were basically saying, I want to leave from. Not only is that not a period to be frowned upon, but it's really accepted right now. So like, what is going on in that scenario? Like you as a player, you put your name in the transfer portal and you go right back to your old team. Like what's happening? What as a fan, I have no idea why this is even occurring.
Okay, so if you, as a player, put your name in the transfer portal, that doesn't mean you have to leave the school. So this is a legal move by the player. Now, when you put your name in the transfer portal, what you are doing is that you're giving other universities the legal opportunity to contact you personally via email or cell phone. They can contact you, recruit you, bring you on official visits, just like you go from high school to college and you go on official visits and every school can talk to you and try to recruit you and get you to commit to their university and play football for them. The transfer portal gives those players the same exact opportunity. Now, those players that choose to go back, sometimes it's because they maybe want some more NIL money that the university wasn't budging on, and putting their name in the transfer portal was used as a tool to threaten that, to threaten the current university into giving more NIL money, or to basically see their options. What universities want my talent that are out there? Are those universities giving me more NIL money? Does it look like I'll play more? Does it look like I'll be able to increase my draft stock, my value as a football player at those universities? There's many other reasons, but sometimes they don't find any of the reasons to leave good enough, and they just take their name out of the portal and they're right back at that previous university.
So I keep comparing it to the professional league. And the problem that I come up with in my brain, because the numbers start adding up very, very quickly. We only have so many NFL teams. The rosters for NFLs are really capped. College football, the rosters are much higher. There are a lot more teams in college football. And when you look at the grand scheme of it, how many kids on average are currently utilizing the transfer portal in the NCAA, just NCAA football on average? Do you think it's like, obviously it's in the hundreds? Does it reach the
Yes.
thousands of kids?
Uh, I'm not sure. It could reach 1,000. Now think about it. So there are a lot more college football programs, right? And that's between Division One, Two, Three, One AA, and the HBCUs, the NAIAs, and there's about 100 plus players on those teams. Whereas a NFL team, there's only 53. There's about half of those numbers, and there's only 32 teams. So when you look at the market of transferring and trading players, basically, there's a lot more players available in the transfer portal for those universities to grab. This also has an effect on high school recruiting because that school is still going to rather just take a player that's in the transfer portal with prior college experience, with weight room experience, with understanding a college scheme, understanding a college playbook and college life and how to handle themselves a lot better than a true freshman that's going to be coming in from high school. Sometimes those universities choose and prefer transfer portal players, even though they have less time to work with those players, over a high school kid who they're going to have to teach everything over to. So the universities may have their different ways of scheming and how they want to attack the transfer portal and recruiting in a whole entire sense. But yeah, that's kind of what you're seeing throughout the entire country is that you're going to have a lot of players in that transfer portal. You may have 1,000 players at any given time.
And when I look at the landscape for college, I always thought it was difficult for a coach because they have to be recruiting all these kids. They have to go do all these visits. They have to have so many. You're flying everywhere. You're just recruiting. That is the name of the game. With the transfer portal, how is this changing staffs? How is it changing the university's approach? How is it changing your life? Like this seems like seems crazy, wild, so fast moving because of how quickly everything happens. How do you see this currently changing things?
Well, so we've already seen changes with hiring of the general managers, right? We've already seen that some schools are starting to um, hire more recruiting coordinators, especially for the transfer portal seasons that come into play. And then as an agent, as a marketing agent and NIL agent, you kind of just want to make sure your player is taken care of in the right manner. We've already seen this year an example of an agent pulling his player due to a NIL deal not being honored correctly. So there's many things that can come up of it. The agents, players, and coaching staffs alike are all in different duties and navigating and maneuvering in the best way possible. But at the end of the day, the player is going to need to find the best situation for themselves, whether that means they're getting the most NIL money that they possibly can get, or that means that they're going to be in the best football circumstance to where they're playing early, playing a lot, and upgrading their value so that they can have a good draft stock going into the NFL draft.
And it's what is pretty crazy is everyone always used to just judge the coach. The coach is the reason you win a championship. The coach is the reason why you perform. You're laying out something that changes how you blame or how you cheer for your team because there's a lot in the background that can make or break that entire team.
Oh, for sure. There is so much. Like, often people say in the football community that good players can't outplay bad coaching. Well, now coaching is becoming more and more about recruiting and your ability to fund your team. So if you also aren't a good businessman, if you also can't, you know, be a good risk manager, then you're going to end up with a bad team. You're going to end up with players that can't produce in the way that you want them to. A lot of times you're going to get bids on the same player from multiple universities, and that player is going to be able to just choose which school they want to, and they're going to be able to pit schools against each other based on the NIL money and how much they're getting offered and this and that and the third. But at the end of the day, those coaches still got to make sure that player produces on the field because you can pay whatever you want. But if you don't have production, you're not going to win games.
So I would say gone are the days of benching a player for not performing, threatening a scholarship. I would say that used to happen quite a bit with coaches to players. That's gone. This whole landscape for everyone's understanding, this changed everything. And the player, I would say, is driving their career and their playing experience in college, they're in the driver's seat more often than not, especially when it comes to how they want to see their future, especially for college.
Most definitely. The players have so much more power nowadays. The NIL space and the transfer portal have empowered players more than at any given time in the history of college football and college sports. The coaches now have to reconsider how they approach players, how they deal with players, how they coach players, because at any given point, that player can leave. That player can transfer out for many different reasons. And it doesn't have to be about playing time or how much money it is. It could simply be because of the relationship between the coach and the player. So there are way more empowerment opportunities for these players now. The coaches are taking a slight, regress when it comes to their power in situations like this. But at the end of the day, that is a coach's job, to be able to get the best team on the field, to be able to cultivate an environment, a winning environment between the players and the coaching staff. And along with the help of a general manager and recruiting coordinators, you're going to be able to get the best team possible and give your best chance to win a national championship.
And I think what you're seeing in today's era of football, you're seeing the programs that are able to adapt to the new style, their coaching style, the GM, the recruiting, all of those things, that they're able to adapt to this new transfer portal era, the era of players getting paid, the era of the players owning their future. Those that are most successful at this, you'll see rise to the top, bring the most success home for the university, and then also get all the trophies at the end of the season. So that's a little brief nugget of the transfer portal. It's pretty wild how much has changed since even when you were going through your transfers, and that was a big deal when that was allowed, to today's era where it's pretty wild.
Yes, most definitely. It's way different. I transferred, for more traditional reasons, whether it was playing time or wanted to increase my value, but it was never for money. We weren't getting paid back then, so the whole NIL space wasn't there.
So for those kids out there that are at the university, congratulations. Cash in on the value of your playing efforts, and we wish you nothing but the best. And obviously, keep enjoying this wonderful college football season. Thank you, Mason, for all of your insight in the transfer portal. I'm your host, Brendan, for Campus to Contracts, and that is the agent, Mason. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. I hated that ending.